Greetings, I am Pillar Nexus, the Ancient Gladiator, today with more Pillar Lows tabletop games, with a surprise episode because I found the Settlers of Catan, or Catan, in a thrift store for like $3. Like, really surprised. So I figured, why not pick it up, see if it's got all the pieces, and it has enough to be playable, and that's what helps. So, the goal of the game is to gather resources, build roads and new settlements and upgrade settlements to cities, develop and hit 10 or more victory points on your turn to win the game. So, as part of the setup, this is the beginner setup approach, um, but the advanced rules I'll cover later. You will have two settlements and a road leading out from each. Depending on what your second settlement is, we'll start with the appropriate resource cards. We've got wheat or food, sheep, lumber, or wood. Also got ore and clay brick. So starting with the first player, they will roll for resource production. Roll these two dice. Yep. Okay. Every settlement adjacent to this number will provide resources. So here, red gets a brick, and here, blue gets an ore. There's no hand limit, but keeping too many cards in your hand has a risk. Because if a player rolls a 7, first off, all players with more than 7 cards in hand discard um, half, rounded down, of their resource cards. So let's say you have 9 cards in hand. You're going to be discarding 4 cards. So try not to hold on to too many resources for too long. In addition, the player that rolled the 7 gets to move the robber to any hex or back to the desert. Let's say they go there. So now this bit of terrain is locked down for resource production. In addition, you get the player that rolled gets to choose to take a random resource from anyone that has a settlement or city adjacent to it. So let's say roll the 7 and we move there, and we're going to take a random card from red. Lumber. I don't have a whole lot of lumber, so there's that. After resource production, you have the option to trade. Uh, you announce what resources you're looking for. Like, I could use more bricks. I'm looking for a brick. I'm willing to trade wood. Anyone wants to trade a brick for wood? Let's say, oh, let's say blue was willing to, honor that trade. It's like, okay, here. So I get their brick, they get wood. Cool. Alternatively, your options for dealing with players might be limited. So They might be obstinate. You might have to just deal with alternative options. You have the great big option of trading 4 of one resource for 1 of any other resource. That is the absolute desperation move. Only rely on it, only use it if you absolutely need it. Otherwise, you want to try to go for these harbors. If you have a settlement next to a harbor, you can use that. So these question mark ones are 3 of any for 1 of another. So let's say I have 3 sheep and I needed ore. I could trade 3 sheep for an ore. But there's a better option for trading away sheep if I've got a lot of sheep built up. You can trade these special ones 2 to 1. There's one of each, one for each of the main types. So if I had a settlement here or a city, I could trade 2 for 1. I believe you can make multiple trades. And trade what as long as you still have the things available to trade. Right. But after that comes building. Building costs are featured on the little reminder card. A road costs a brick and a wood. They are not worth points, but they are critical to further development in the game. So you must connect through one of your settlements or your roads or cities. You want to try to build roads towards where you plan to build your next settlement. Or try to build roads in a way to eventually make the longest road. At any point, one player has at least 5 connected road segments that actually form a line, regardless of, forking off. Like, this is 5. This is not 6, because the 5 make the actual line. Once you do that, you'll take the longest road card. This is worth 2 victory points, and the only way anyone can ever take this from you is to build a road of at least 6 segments, or more than you, in case you decide to keep building that road on and on. Building a settlement requires brick, wood, wheat, and sheep. You must be at the end of a road. It must be on a road, so building it here is an option. That's kind of dumb. Let's, yeah. It's for demonstration purposes. So this element is worth 1 BP to you. In addition, it gives you access to receiving those resources when that number is rolled. Another building option is to build a city. You must have 2 food, and 3 ore. And a settlement already in play. Replace the settlement with a city. From now on, whenever you roll resource for resource production, anything that's adjacent to your city provides double. So let's say I rolled an 8. I'm getting 2 food for this city and 1 food for that settlement. All right. Finally, you can buy development cards for an ore, a food, and a sheep. You will draw a card at random from this deck. When this deck runs out, there is no replacements. Some cards are worth victory points. You can play them on the turn you buy them, and you can keep them hidden until someone else tries to declare victory, and you can pull a surprise. Actually, I have more points than you. Move. Just silly. There are these green framed cards which are used once and then put out of the game. You cannot use them on the turn you get them. So, for example, Monopoly. When you play this card, announce one type of resource. All other players must give you their resource cards of that type. And finally, there are knights. Again, they're played not on the turn that you get them. Um, Move the robber and steal a resource card. So you move it there, mess up the ore production, and proceed to steal a resource from either of these two players. When you play a knight, it goes in front of you. When you have 3 knights, you take the largest army. If someone plays more knights than you, they take the largest army. But a largest army is worth 2 points. Woe to the other. Woe to your opponents if you manage to pull both of this off. Both of these off. Anyway, but once you're done with building and playing any development cards, your turn is over. The dice will pass to the player to your left, and the game continues on until someone on their turn has 10 or more points. At which point, anyone with hidden cards have the option to reveal them and add to their own victory points, and the most points wins. What about tiebreakers? What if there is a tie? It does not say. But ideally, if you have the points on your turn, you're the one who wins. So, probably don't want to keep these hidden for too long. Alright, other things with this game. Uh, there's a variable setup where these terrain hexes are shuffled and fill in the frame. Um, and these little resource numbers are distributed starting at a corner and then spiraling in, skipping over the desert. And then there's these harbor tokens which randomly replace the other ones. And players will set up so that there's a random first player to um, set their first settlement. And they'll go around and then start with the last player going back. Um, they'll place a second settlement in the road, and they'll get the resources for the second settlement that they placed. Yeah, this is just the beginner teaching the game for the first time, getting people to familiar with the game. So, why do I like this game? Okay, I haven't really played this game a whole lot. It's it's kind of a basic game, but it's precisely because it's a basic introductory. Here's something different to play other than what most people are used to kind of game where you've got resources and considering the odds and trading with other players and potentially messing with other players by messing with roads and building places that they really would have liked to have built and just other crazy stuff like making use of the robber and everything. This is a good game for people who are used to other games, but not very strategic games. This is something to step things up to the next level and say, hey, I know you're used to all this old, this old random stuff. Here's something with a little bit more strategy to it, but still enough randomness to keep it interesting. And this game has been around for a very long time. Recent editions are just called Catan, and they dropped the settlers thing. But there's like a lot of other options to expand the game out. Um, Seafarers has more um, water, cities and knights. Um, there's a way to extend the game to 5 and 6 players. Yeah, there's a lot of options available. There's also if you have the money to throw down, a 3D Catan set. It's horribly expensive, but it looks cool. But yeah, if you're just new to tabletop games in general, or you just want to play something that's not too heavy, just to kind of relax, have a nice time playing with friends, this this is a good game. Even if I don't play it all that much, I will still give it a good recommendation for anyone who's looking for a game like this. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. This has been Pillar Nexus, the Ancient Gladiator. I'll see you next time.